Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of It Was Never Personal with Yummy Wilfred. It's me, your host, Yummy Wilfred. It was never personal. It has always been about love, laughter, music, dance, colors, role playing, balance, awareness, authenticity, not taking the ego too seriously, not taking life too seriously. It is all about realizing that this is a dream, an illusion that we get to co create with the power higher than us. It was never personal. Tune in to get inspired, motivated, and mostly importantly, find ways to love yourself and do so with laughter and joy. This is nothing new. You won't learn anything new from this podcast. It may sound new only because we have forgot that which we once knew, and I'm here to remind us of that which we once forgot. It was never personal. Like I said in the last episode, everything that I'm saying in this podcast is something that actually lends from somewhere. So, yeah, it's not really new. It's something that I was really reminded by someone. And I'm like, because this is so amazing and I love it and it's interesting. It's very, oh my God. So I'm like, I think people would want to know this too because I mean, like, yeah, let me give it to them. And actually, ideas and everything in life is actually more enjoyable and it expands when shared. So I'm just sharing the idea, knowledge. I'm sharing knowledge because I know that knowledge is power, first of all. And again, it expands when we share it. And that is self love. So remember that it was never personal. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I really do admire your presence, for you being here with me today. It's episode 22, yes. And maybe this is your first episode or this is our 22nd episode. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And like I always say, it was never personal. It was never personal. So in today's episode, I'm going to talk about something which I feel like is very exciting. Again, I mean, I always say that. Maybe I won't, but but it's exciting. It's a real topic because today's episode is about the difference between alone and loneliness. You know, because a lot of times I feel like people feel or actually think that, or the common sense, this is it. The common sense is that when you spend a lot of time alone, then you feel lonely. Or maybe that you are alone, you are lonely. But it's not true, it's not true. It's the other way around because there's a difference between being alone and being lonely. I say this because I remember when I was um 18 years old. Yes, yeah, 2 years ago. This beautiful guy. He's the he was he was the boyfriend to the girl we were sharing a house with. Very good people. I mean, and this guy comes up to me and he's telling me, it's yeah. Oh my god, I really loved that time. So he's been observing me. He knows that I go to school, I come from school, I get home, and most of the time I'll find him home, or he will find me home during the afternoon. When I knock off from school, I'll be home actually way before 3 p.m. or maybe like immediately when I leave school, I go home. So I think it must have been like maybe 3 months along the line. He comes to me and he says, Wilfred, um, I'm wondering. Okay, I love how you do your things and everything like that, but do you ever go out? And I'm like, yeah, I don't really go out like that. Like, okay, why do I feel like that? I mean, I go out with my friends. When I say that I went out is when I go out for my friends for their birthdays and we just eat lunch and we go back home, but ever going to like clubs, parties, late night parties, I don't do that. Why? It's not like I hate it or anything. I think it's just because I haven't it was never really brought to me. I mean, I sleep at 7 p.m. During the weekend. I enjoy my time home watching TV and things like that. So I never really have had time to really think, oh, I need to go out because I mean, I've always tried. I remember when I we had parties at home and you know, parties at home and people would it's like now my family members become this peculiar people. They become so strange because they act differently. They dissociate from one another. It's like my uncle will be going off. I'm talking about Christmas parties and celebrations. Maybe the birthday party of my mommy, auntie, or anything. Usually we have braai or barbecues at night. But these people would really, literally, they will dissociate. My uncle would go out with his friends. My aunties will start doing things like that. Guys, I thought it's a party, so we have to connect and dance and be like whatever. But if anything, there was this awkwardness. There's always been this awkwardness that I felt, and I still feel to this day when I really interact with people, with a large group of people in a party setting. Like when I go to a late night party or the sessions that people call nowadays, when I go to a session and there are a lot of people over there, I always feel like guys, can you really smell it in the air? Because it's like as much as everyone is physically here, but mentally no one is here. Spiritually no one is here. People are not present. People are dissociating. And I'm not talking just about the amount of alcohol that they take in, because I mean taking in 16 bottles, 8 bottles, or 20 bottles of alcohol within such a short period of time shows that actually you want to escape the this you want to escape the present moment. And usually it's like, okay, oh, we are high. But this drugs and alcohol that people take in nowadays, the ethanol, is actually a sedative. It takes you below consciousness. It doesn't take you above thoughts. It takes you below your thoughts. So it's like, people right now, or our civilization as a society, the common sense is that we actually take this substance. We go to parties to take this substance. We go to parties not to be in the moment, not to connect, but to actually escape our thoughts, to escape the the whatever the anxiety that we have, to escape the depression, to escape the fear. And the only way to do that is to dissociate from this moment. And if you take alcohol, it will take you below thoughts but not above it. But we cannot go back, we have to go forward. It's one thing if it had actually brought you forward, but they then take alcohol, or they dissociate, or they become so estranged, they act differently. It's like, okay, we're in a party, I'm with my friend, and my friend meets we meet this other new group of friends, and my friend is actually now acting in a very different way. I don't even know who this guy or this girl is. I'm like, oh my god, what's happening? It always scared me. It always really made me tremble or feel, because I'm an observer, so I really suck in a lot of things. I'm a sponge. So from an early age, I always went, I don't really want to do it. I remember when we were at junior school, and after the prize giving ceremony, I always loved it when I went straight home. But when we did Form 2 or Form 3, she had Form 3, I remember. Because we were the best in class, we were the best Form 3s in school. We're the best class of from threes. So we were given cakes and stuff like that. We had to actually celebrate. I thought we were going to get there and cut the cake and go. But it was actually like, okay, let's start doing something. And then again, the same thing happened. People dissociated. They acted so wild. It's like, where is everyone? I thought I knew everyone. Where's everyone? And we started taking pictures. And when I look at myself in the picture right now, I see myself wondering, and whenever I see myself in these pictures of, because as a young boy, people always take pictures of me when I'm at weddings, family parties, ceremonies. I'm always actually like someone who's actually looking through the camera and going, "Hey, cameraman, can you see what I'm seeing?" I'm not posing for the camera. I'm not going, oh, smiling. Even if I'm smiling, you can see, I can feel my smile going, oh, it's just like a forced smile because I'm like, what's happening? So there, I said all of this to say that I never really have been interested in going to parties because I knew that people go to parties to escape. People are not always in the moment. When I get to parties, I want to dance, I want to laugh, I want to sing, I want to play. I want to interact with people. And when I say people, I mean real, like, I want to get you raw. Give it to me raw, I don't want you on some ethanol. I don't want you on some percentage. I don't want you on some drugs or anything. I want you raw. Like, give it to me like that. And then after we've connected like that, then it's fine. I don't want to have you all day long. You can go and do whatever you want to do. That's that. But because people are not willing to connect when they get to parties, they dissociate. I was never really interested in going to parties. And I wanted to tell that to that young man who asked me if I ever go to parties or to clubs and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, I don't go. I never went. And he was like, oh, okay. Hmm. So I'm coming. I'm coming later. I'm going to pick you up. We are going out. I want to show you things. And at that time, I was really interested because I'm like, I want to experience, and I still want to experience the club zones or the like this scenery of going to a club, going to parties, late night sessions, and things like that. I just want to experience it because I've been away from it. I don't even go to family ceremonies. I don't even go to funerals, weddings. I've cut it off because people dissociate. It's like crazy. You get to a wedding and the moment you thought that, oh yeah, this is my aunt, this is my uncle, this is my mother. Your mother disowns you. Your mother is running around with this other man who you don't even know. Your father is not even present there. Your aunts are actually interested in something else. It's like, oh, so I actually came here, and you guys actually, because I never really wanted to come to the wedding, but you were like, oh, you have to come to the wedding. We bought you clothes, so you have to come. So then I'm like, okay, you have to sit next to me, and then you sit next to me, and then you leave me. Like, oh, dude, I don't even give a fuck about this wedding. I mean, what are the chances that they're going to get divorced? I'm not being negative. I'm just saying it in a funny way, okay? What are the chances that these people don't even love each other, I mean, we've been through it all and again. I mean, at home, you've been talking about how you don't like the daughter-in-law or you don't like the son-in-law, and you are here pretending to love the son-in-law and the daughter-in-law, and you've at home you've been talking so sick and so bad of the family in your in-law family or whatever, saying that you don't like them, this the and then you come here and then you fake it. I don't want to join it. I don't want to do that, I'd say, I mean, honey, why are we doing that? So I've never been interested in going to family ceremonies, at all. I've not. The ones that I go to is when I feel genuinely like, oh, I want to go there because guess what? I love that person. I connect to them. There's something over there. Otherwise, I don't go. So the same thing applies to parties and stuff like that. But, anyways, I've always wanted to really experience the scenery of clubs, sessions, late night parties, and stuff like that. So this guy tells me he'll be back later. It's around 7 p.m. and I go to sleep. Oh, did I actually sleep? Yeah, I think I slept, it was Friday, so I slept at 7 because I have to wake up in the morning and study. So then I slept and he comes around, I think it was around 9 p.m. He gets home, he finds me there. My sister is not even there. She went to the party too. So he takes me out, and taking me out this time around, he's like, okay, let me show you. We drive around. It was right around half nine when we left home. So this is late at night. To me, it's actually like so late at night. Like, oh my God, I'm going out. I'm so happy. I was so excited. So we are going, and he shows me this other place, the Park 27. That was right around when it was still new. Park 27, there were lights, and he started talking about them. We started talking, and then he shows me this other bar at Portia, and he shows me this other guy. He's like, this other guy, actually, that guy is a thief. And he tells me, oh, this guy is a thief. And yeah, but I know him. We grew up together, and he won't do anything to you. It's fine. He asked me, what do you want to drink? Because I have alcohol. You don't take alcohol, girlfriend. So what do you want to drink? I'm like, I'll have anything. I'll go literally, I'll have anything. I'm like, okay, you can give me Coke. He's like, okay, let me buy you Coke over there. And it's so cold out. I felt like I was out. I felt like I went to a party or something. And I drink that Coke. It's cold. And then we go from there, we go, and he sipped his cup, and he kept on asking me, how are you? Are you fine? Do you want to go home? Are you fine? Do you want food? Are you, he kept on, he was like my elder brother, you know? And I was like, no, it's fine. And then he was like, okay, let's go and get some food. It's like, okay, because you don't eat meat, we'll have to get something which we can both eat. And he was like, yeah, let's get this other pizza. There's this other pizza place that does we know, and he bought this big box of pizza. It was 200 pula. And we ate it at home, and we talked, and I felt like, and we passed this other club called Zoom, and he described the scenery of Zoom. He's like, when you enter there, it's like this, that. I was like, oh my God, I went outside. Now, when we get home and we're eating, he's like, oh, friend, so are you ever lonely? Yeah, we are eating, right? At this point in time, I'm free, I'm relaxed. I feel at home. I have connected with this elder brother of mine. So I'm free, I'm eating. And then he starts asking me questions. So, are you in a relationship? I'm like, no. So, do you ever feel lonely? Because I feel like you feel lonely. Why are you not in a relationship? You're not going out, you're always in home. And I was like, oh, that's interesting because I don't because I don't know. I Most of the time, like, if like 2 weeks can go by and I don't even have that feeling of, oh, I'm lonely because I don't have a boyfriend. I don't have that feeling, you know, because I enjoy being alone. I enjoy being alone, and like I always say, I like the solitude of the morning. I actually spend 3 to 4 hours or more, but usually it's 3 to 4 hours of my mornings in solitude. I get to meditate, and I don't mean only referencing the lotus position, but I get to bring awareness to myself and my environment. I recenter myself with the source. I release the spirit and connect to it with a dance, you know, a song. I act, and a lot of laughter. So by the time that I get to spend alone, like right now when I'm doing this podcast, it's something that I love. I've fitted my time schedules with things that I love. It's music, it's dance, it's movies, it's acting, it's laughing, it's jokes, you know, it's spiritual practices. So I really, it's so uncommon that I will feel alone. I always feel connected. And this is the thing, because I know that a lot of people feel lonely. And the advice that I'll give to someone who feels lonely is, feelings are not facts. Feelings are not facts. They are indicators, but they're not facts. They're indicating to something else that you have to really deal with, because, the point that you're feeling lonely is not because you feel like you need someone. Because in truth, or the truth of the matter is that we are not separate. We are one thing. Me and my mother, me and my friends, we are connected. So right now, and I'm not talking about social media, I'm not talking about phones, technology, internet. I rarely even ever communicate with people. over messages nowadays or call them. But I'm enjoying my time alone, you know. The truth of the matter is that we are one thing, but your ego or my mind, our ego really makes us feel like we are separate beings. Therefore, we tend to feel lonely when we identify with our ego, our false mind. So I rarely ever feel lonely. You know, I'm alone, but I rarely ever feel lonely. But sometimes, yes, I do feel lonely, especially when I really do have something, when I really fall out of sync, when I lose the center or lose the balance, and then I feel like, oh. But you know, I've grown to actually know the mechanisms of how it plays out and what I can do to I know the remedies, you know, I know what to do to actually remedy the situation, to actually recenter or rebalance myself. I know how to do it because like I always said, I used to actually whenever I felt that's the thing. Like I always say, feelings are not facts. So whenever I felt lonely, it's usually because I felt sad. And then I will just confuse the sadness with feeling lonely. And then I'll be like, oh, okay, let me go and visit my friends. And when I get to visit my friends, I'll be like, oh, now I'm not lonely. So it means that I was lonely back then. But that was false because um I was feeling negative emotions. I was feeling sad. So I actually had to run away. I had to dissociate from my sad emotions. And the only way to deal with them was to actually see a friend at that moment. And others do alcohol, others do sex, others do video games, others do social media, whatever they do. Others exercise, others do food. But at in my case, usually went to see friends, you know, whenever I felt like the boil was there was too, I was under too much pressure and I was feeling sad, I will see friends. And then when I'm with my friends, I don't feel sad and I'll be like, oh, that means I was lonely, but actually it was you were feeling sad, not lonely. So it was until I actually sat down with the sad emotions and felt it and allowed it to actually come through me and actually assess it because like I said, feelings are not facts but they're indicators. It's like how do I feel? Well, how do you feel, Yami Wilfred? Okay, I feel sad. Why? Okay, because of that. Oh. Brrr. It makes sense. Now I have dealt with it. It's fine. It has dissolved. So feeling lonely is never really the case for me. It's other emotions, you know. I tend to confuse loneliness with emotions that I don't know how to um, cope with or deal with or even face. So therefore, I will dissociate by inviting someone or going over somewhere or doing something so that I take my mind or my psyche away from what I'm feeling. But it doesn't solve anything because I'm just literally pushing my sadness under the rug. But when I get home, I will feel it again, you know? So ultimately, I had to find something that works. And I find those things when I'm alone, when I'm sitting by myself, when I'm ruminating and marinating on my thoughts, on my feelings, and asking myself, what is going on when I'm reflecting and actually loving myself? So it's all about that. So that's the advice that I have for people who feel alone. And then again, the reason why I feel like I've always been okay with being alone, or the reason why I feel like I've never felt, or it's not really easy for me to feel lonely when I'm alone, is because from a young age, I've always felt like an outcast. You know, I've always felt like I'm going to the right when people are going to the left. I've always felt uncommon to the common sense. It's like, okay, people have the common sense, and I'm like, but that's to me it doesn't make sense. Like, it's no sense, you know. So I've always felt like an outcast, and therefore, I have from an early age, um, I've always learned that, oh, actually, I'm different, and blah blah blah. I can talk about a lot of things, but at the end of the day, this just really allowed me being an outcast or me being an outsider. Yes, I've always felt like an outsider. So when you're an outsider and you don't actually fit into what people do, you tend to spend a lot of time by yourself. That means you spend time alone, you know. And and right now when I'm talking about an outsider, I'm not talking about my gayness or my sexuality or things like that. It has little to do with me being gay. It has much more to do with my ability from a young age to go, well, this is just, whatever you call common sense is not making sense to me. I don't get it, and I'm not going to confine by it. Like, are you sure? Oh, yeah, like, there's, like, I was always questioning the status quo. I was always questioning things that were done, like how our culture moved. I was always questioning the way we live as a society. So therefore, I was like I always felt like an outsider, even within gay people, because I would be like around them and it's like they're so identified with being victims. They're so identified with guilt and shame. They are so oppressed that they've become oppressors. They are so not themselves, and then I felt like, ugh, this doesn't even make sense. Like, ugh, it felt so overwhelming. So therefore, I had to really spend time by myself, because by myself, then I can go, oh, actually, it makes sense. But it was until I started growing up and I started reading books, researching, watching documentaries, learning about things that are really exciting to me, like history, like what happened, how did marriage come about? Because to me, marriage is like, it's a hoax. you know but listen, I'm not saying like, how did marriage come about? How did politics come about? How did monogamy come about? How did polygamous marriage come about? Because I remember when I was taught marriage at school, and we defined it. We were doing standard 7. So I was 12 years old. I was 12 years old, but no, but that was later, because actually marriage comes way much before standard 7 or grade 7. I think around grade, let me see, I can remember it very well. I can remember it very well. It's um when I was 9 years old doing standard 5. This is how he described, but the feeling is very elevated and very clear. When I'm 12 years old, we are describing marriage as a union between a man and a woman. And then I pause and I go, well, Wilfred, do you remember when we were doing standard 3? When you were like, when you were 8 years old and you wed Jordan and this other guy? You wed Jordan and Gizo, like two boys were getting married. You were 8 years old. You did it. You were the commander. You were the may the husband kiss the husband. You wed them. And then when you were doing standard 5, you wed your cousin and this other boy. Jordan married Rachel again. It's as I'm like, but way before we even learned about this shit, I we had we said we were wedding before we learned about it in school. Marriage was actually just people getting rings into each other because they love each other. Like, if they love each other, it's, yeah, you are just a happy couple. That's fine. Now you get here. It made sense when I was 12 years old. I'm like, now you're just learning that it's men and women. Does that mean that when you were playing, that was not actually marriage? I was questioning. That's what I mean when I say I'm questioning the way we do things in our culture, because I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. When we talk about um it's a lot of things. It's a lot of things, and some of these things are sensitive to people because they will ruffle feathers of their egos. So I'm not going to talk about them as such. But that's what I mean. Like, didn't even make sense to me that um if my like, okay, that's my mom, and okay, but oh my, like, what is happening? You know, it didn't even make sense. But it was overwhelming. Sometimes I didn't even have time to actually take it in by myself because I felt like I was the only one who gets it. No one is even willing to talk about it. Not even my friends are willing to talk about it. It was until I found people like Alan Watts, Ramdas, and RuPaul, Eckhart Tolle, people who are talking about these things, watching explained versions of marriage, psychedelics, and all these things that I learned watching TV, watching documentaries, reading self help books, reading spiritual books. Those are the things that really actually said, Wilfred, it's right. It's right. There's nothing like death. Death doesn't exist. It's fine. It always excites me because I go, oh my God, hi, Yummy Wilfred, you were right. Because my inner child knew it. And I was always saying to my inner child, no, it doesn't make sense. Why are you saying, but now it makes sense because I'm like, honey, I validate you. It's fine. I authenticate it. It's fine. You are right. So I spent a lot of time actually alone because nobody was willing to go there. But did I ever feel lonely? No. No, because like I said, we are one thing. I've always felt it. We are one. There's nothing like separate like that. But again, I didn't even have time to feel lonely because I've always sang from a young age. I've always danced. I've always created magic around myself. I've always given laughter to people much more than I gave to myself at a young age. But now it's much more better because now I'm at a point where I'm actually learning to not actually learning, but I'm rediscovering that I can actually make jokes that I can laugh by myself. I'm making jokes so that I love myself, and if people love or don't love, I don't care. That's whatever they don't get it. They never even got anything that I understood at a young age. So it doesn't really count if they don't get it right now because they never got it from the beginning. So right now I'm actually trying to make jokes that my inner child will really like I really poke fun at culture, at what is right and what's wrong, and doing everything. I'm just touching everywhere like I'm free. And I'm most free when I'm alone. There you go. So that's why I'm saying I rarely ever feel lonely. I rarely ever feel lonely, even though I spend most of my time alone. But don't get it twisted because in life you have to keep we live in a world of polarities, up and down, alone and with people. We are social beings. So as much as I spend time alone, I always make sure that I always return to the community. Excuse me. Surround myself with people, my friends or whoever, and just extend the love, the joy, and everything. Because by the time, whenever I'm alone, I'm recharging my battery. I am actually restarting this machine. I'm pouring love onto myself. And when I feel like my cup is overwhelmed and not overwhelmed, but overrunning, overflowing, when my cup is actually overflowing with self love, then I go, oh, actually, let me not just spill this love on nothing or onto the ground, but let me just spill it onto other people. And then I share the laughter, the joy, the music, the dance with other people, provided that they are ready to give it because other people are just so stuck in really saying life is unfair and life is hard and life is at last half empty when I'm like life is a glass half full. We have a lot of don't you can look at the crucifixion but don't dwell upon it. Stay and dwell upon the resurrection. That's where the joy lies. That's where there's light. That is where there's love. That's life, the life that I want to experience. And it's all about that. So yes, again, that's the difference between alone and alone, feeling lonely or being lonely. And again, like I always say, we are never really actually lonely. We feel lonely. And that's a way that I actually use again to really help myself really go, oof, I'm just experiencing this feeling of these emotions of feeling lonely, but am I lonely? No, I'm not even this thing. That is what I had for you today, and I will end it with saying this actually awakens or arises a question of, because I've been actually thinking of relationships, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I don't wanna get into a relationship because I feel lonely or I'm scared of being alone. And I've actually had to cut off calling people, texting people, because it was a one-way thing. I will call my friends or call my mom, but they would never call back. So then it was like, oh my god, why am I even stressing? Wilfred, just live it. Enjoy your space. Call yourself, text yourself, laugh with yourself. It's fine. It's not personal. And right now I'm like, a lot of people, or a lot of these guys who are in relationships, or a lot of my age mates, even people who are older, they're just in relationships because they're scared to be alone or scared to be by themselves. Because actually, like I said on the last episode, one of the last episodes, it actually, when you come to this moment and you sit by yourself, the first thing that you will face or have to face is how much pain you are in, of how much, like I was saying, I would actually dissociate from my feelings by going to see someone, and when I come back, because I just pushed that sadness over the rug, I have to face it. So you've been piling up these emotions, this pain, and when you come back, it's like, oh my god, what? You look at the bill and it's like billions of bullets, and you're like, who spent billions? But it's you, because you never really dealt with your emotions. So now you have to actually go through the fire before you can start saying, I want to be by myself, I want to enjoy myself, I want to have fun with myself. You have to actually deal with the things that you never dealt with, the pain, the emotions, the sadness, and whatever, and face it and actually go over through it before you can actually say, oh, there's a difference between being alone, and yeah, or actually saying it's actually possible to be alone and not be feel lonely, you know? Deal with what you have to deal with and just love yourself. That's self-love. Unfortunately, you have to go through the fire before you can actually say, I don't feel lonely even though I'm alone, you know? But as long as you keep on dissociating, hmm, you'll get into a relationship because you feel like that relationship will fulfill you, will give you the joy and whatever. But you can never get it from anywhere else. That void that you feel inside, the emptiness that we all feel inside, can only be filled by each one of us, because that space or that emptiness, that void, is actually our inner child going, hi, you never really looked at me, you never really loved me. Hi, hi, hey, hi, Yummy Wilfred. Hi, I want your love. You never gave it to me. No, I don't want the love from your boyfriend. I want you to love me. I want you to parent me. No, I don't want it from your dad. I want it from you. You're my parent. It's just like that. So you have to actually come back and raise that child, soothe him or her or it, and give it the warmth, the love, and everything before you can even extend it to another person. Because again, people get into relationships when they're in so much pain, when they're fragile and feel like they're lonely and whatever, and they're like, this person has to actually make me feel good. And during the so-called honeymoon phase, yes, you'll feel like you're a match made in heaven. But as the weeks propel, you start fighting every day. Why? Because you got in and you try to say this person can take care of your inner child when they cannot. They cannot complete that void. They cannot fill that hole. You have to do it by yourself. You have to love yourself, because that's the only way you can extend that love to another person. You can only give what you have. So if you love yourself, then you can love another person. But if you don't love yourself, don't expect anything else. That's what I had for you today. Thank you for tuning in. And like I always say, it was never Bye.